Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it's good to have our friend here, and since obviously you're responsible for all the good and all the ills that have beset the world, I'd like to say congratulations on growing the ice in Antarctica. I don't know what it is you're doing to grow the amount of ice in Antarctica, but congratulations. You must be responsible. You seem to be for everybody else, or for everything else. And I couldn't help but think, as you mentioned, the $16 billion shortfall, that it would be nice if the lawyer in the Clinton administration that changed the wording ever so slightly in our offshore drilling leases to benefit the oil companies by $10 billion, one of which she went to work for right after that. It would have been nice to have that $10 billion that the Clinton administration cost us. But of course, the Obama administration rewarded her by bringing her back into the Obama administration to help other oil companies. But we are behind, and obviously your budget has not grown commensurate to take care of the $16 billion shortfall that has particularly grown during the last administration. They seem to be much more interested in adding land and growing the shortfall of taking care of our parks and our national treasures. So, Secretary Zinke, what plans do you have? How can we make up this terrible shortfall, the terrible damage like the water pipe you mentioned? How are we going to make that up, all of the damage that's occurred during the last administration? You have an idea?
This is the proposition. We all recognize that our parks infrastructure in the current system is inadequate. $11.6 billion in our park system didn't happen overnight. It's happened over a long period of time with both administrations. So how do we fix it? I think it's a fair proposition to say this. If you're going to produce wealth on our public lands, we're not talking about drilling in the national parks. Most of our energy comes from BLM and offshore. If you go back to 2008, Interior was the #2 generator of revenue in this country. It was $18 billion a year just in offshore. It was a banner year. In 2016, when we took office, that was $2.6 billion. We dropped $15 billion a year on scale that would address our entire backlog. So this is what the proposition of the bill says. If you're going to produce energy, all forms of energy on public lands, that's wind, that's solar, that is oil and gas, then you should also participate in paying for the maintenance and preservation of our public lands. It does not affect any current program. It doesn't affect LWCF. It doesn't affect Gohmert, because the proposition is net dollars of new energy going into the Treasury. It doesn't affect any program. And many people along the Gulf with the Gohmert or LWCF program, which I support, it doesn't affect any of those programs. It's just net dollars. So I think over the course of time, liquid natural gas will be a bigger player. I'm hoping we have a battery, but we have to address the infrastructure in our parks, and our current system falls short. So that's what the President has proposed. That's what's in the budget. Believe me, it was not an easy process getting OMB, and you remember our good colleague, Mick Mulvaney. It wasn't easy to get him on board, but the President and OMB are on board, and it's a bipartisan bill over in the Senate that addresses the Park Service. The Senate's organized somewhat differently because we are also looking for companion bills on Indian education and wildlife refuges. That's the proposal, how to do it. We think it's a good proposal, and it is in the spirit of Teddy Roosevelt.
Well, and I appreciate that approach a great deal. I would love to see the Land and Water Conservation Fund, at least a bigger part of that, go toward taking care of our maintenance before we acquire more land. But I certainly appreciate your approach. I'm proud to call you a friend, and I appreciate what you're doing, and especially congratulations on growing the ice.
And yield back. All right.